of this service is it runs on a local network, for a cloud user. So if you're running CSI on the cloud, then obviously you log into the cloud through browser and access that on Amazon services. And on your local network, you want to be able to print reports to your local printers. So that's what the Cloud Print Utility will do for you. So what we do is we actually install that as a Windows service on a server on your network, and then we actually configure it to the different environments that you have. So you see here, this is kind of the configuration tool for that. What it does, it allows us to set up the configuration for the CloudSuite. It's, the configuration, the password to log into it, and then the address where it's at, and how long, and how the throttling, things like that. So what happens is that this application actually polls against that and tries to find the tasks that have been run, the reports that have been run that you on the CloudSuite environment, and then it brings them down and prints them on the local network based on some configuration. So let's take a look at that on the actual CloudSuite side, kind of how that configuration is set up. So here, I've got several screens open here to kind of show that, but the ones that are kind of important, is interesting, is like you have printers here. So the printers are actually the actual printers from your local environment. And you see when I've actually pushed those from that configuration utility up to this cloud environment, and it's showing these are all the printers that are on that machine that I was showing before. So here's those printers. If I were to go and look at the printers I have over in this machine, I can say printers, devices and printers, and you'll see that these printers, all these printers match up with the printers that are here. Those are initialized from the tool. So if you're familiar with setting up background tasks and things like that inside of CSI, this will look very, very familiar. So instead of having background task definitions, there's background task definitions standard in CSI, we actually now have a local background task definitions, okay? And what you do is when you come into this screen and you configure it that, the task that you want to start up, and then you also configure it to do local print. That tells the local print service to then pick it up that should be printed out locally as opposed to on the, obviously the cloud. You also want to make note that you're actually still going to want to create a background task definition for the normal task that actually creates a report option that prints that report out to a PDF. And then the local task will then pull that PDF and print it out locally. So speaking of report options, there's also a local report options screen that you can set up where you actually set up for the parameters for how it actually prints. So here I'm saying I want to print this task name to this local printer, and I can actually specify the number of copies of that I want to print out, okay? And this works just like regular report options where you actually can set it up to where it looks at the username, the task name. So if you leave the username blank, anybody who prints the order verification simple report it'll actually print out to that printer. If you want to make it more specific and say, well, for this user, it prints to this printer, and for that user, it prints to another printer, then you could specify that here by specifying the username. If you want like all reports that are configured in the definitions to print to a certain printer, you leave both the username and the task name blank and specify the printer, and that would be like the default if it doesn't find anything more specific. So it works just like report options does, but for the local printers. Okay. We also have a local background tasks log here. This kind of tells you what the tasks were that were run like this, and then if there's any errors or anything that goes wrong on the local printing, this gives you diagnostics on what happened, like if it failed to print, and just like you have a background task history form inside of CSI, you have a local background task history inside of here that you can look at what happened on the local service trying to print those things out on your local environment. Okay, so really once everything's configured in both report options as well as these definitions and the printers, once everything's configured, I can then run that report. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run that order verification report, which is what I've got configured here, and then I'm going to say print it, and what's going to happen is it's going to create that report through the regular background tasks, and then the local background task is going to pick it up and print it to my local printer, which then when I switch back to this screen, you'll see show up in this print here that it's printing, okay? Since this is a recording, it's hard for me to show you actually being printed out on the printer, but you'll see here at least that the job shows up to print out that actual report on my local computer. So this is my local computer, and this is the cloud. Okay. So let me go ahead and hit the print button here. When I hit print, it'll say report submitted. I should be able to hop over here, and then within a couple of seconds, you'll see that queue up as, there we go, just that quickly, and it's now printed to my local printer here at my office. So once again, the idea of this application is to be able to directly print to your network printers from a cloud CSI environment. Any report, this works for any report in CSI that's configured, even custom reports that you've created, that have been created for your environment. So this works for every report in your CSI environment. All it takes is a matter of configuring them in these few screens and then running the report, and everything works. Thank you for your time today.